Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Rod and Staff Podcast. I'm Rod Saunders from Jew and Greek, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. A few months ago, a young man named Jonathan Brinker left a comment on one of my videos telling me that he was being drawn into the cessationist camp and was listening to people like John MacArthur and Spencer Smith and Polite Leader. And then he started watching some of my videos, and he started to see through the arguments that these people were making against the gifts of the Spirit and the charismatic movement and charismatic theology. And today he is happily serving God in a Pentecostal church. So I just wanted to take a few minutes here today to allow him to tell his story so that you can see a sample of the kind of impact this channel is having. So without further ado, let's get into the interview. Well, Jonathan, welcome to the podcast. Why don't you start off by telling the viewers a little bit about your background?
Thank you for having me. I've always been in a Pentecostal church. That's all that knew me ever since I was about 7. You know, there was a 3-year period where I didn't go to the church I'm at now, but I've grew up here, and we're a classical Pentecostal church. We were independent, not affiliated with any denomination, but my pastor at the time, he was ordained with the Assemblies of God. And he was a traditional Assemblies of God minister. Mm-hmm. If you a lot about that denomination.
Yeah, I spent 6 years in the Assemblies of God. So you grew up in church and you were raised Pentecostal. So what happened?
I didn't come to know the Lord until about 2 years ago. When the pandemic first hit, I was terrified, and I said, "God, I need you. This is scary," And over time, I grew in a relationship with Him. Started attending a Pentecostal church, and that's when around that time, that's when I started to get into a lot of not so much Reformed theology, but cessationism. I would listen to a lot of teachers who were cessationists and did say, "Oh, well, these people aren't saved. They believe this and this," which all of them aren't. Those, if they're essential doctrines, and they're not true 9 times out of 10. And but yeah, I just started to veer off from my Pentecostal roots, and it was
okay. And then you started watching my channel, or what was the first video that you saw?
I don't remember exactly, but I had just finished watching. I don't remember who it was from, but it was just a theology video from someone who was a hard cessationist, and it had something to do with charismatic apologetics, from what I remember. And I watched it and I said, "Whoa, this guy has a point." And it was the practicality of your arguments. Like, it wasn't, "Oh, well, this is a lot of cessationists will use the extreme in the movement. Say, "Oh, well, this is a normal," and then how you just simply said that wasn't true, basically. And just the simplicity of it. That's when I realized, oh, he's right. And it took me some time. I'll never forget what really got me. It was the point where I knew that this wasn't me. My pastor, I was talking to him after church, one service, and I was telling him some of my favorite teachers, and there was, typical Reformed, John MacArthur, the list goes on. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, he told me, "Go look up what he says about Pentecostals, and your opinion on him might change." And then when I found out, I was shocked, because I thought, oh, this guy is a really good and genuine teacher, which, not that he isn't, of course, but in terms of cessationism and spiritual gifts, he's wrong, And it was just that moment. That's what really got it going. And then once I found your channel, and it was that was it.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't aware of the fact that MacArthur held this Strange Fire conference back in 2013, and pretty much condemned the vast majority of Pentecostals and charismatics.
Yeah.
He tried to back away from that later on, but it was pretty clear. And Justin Peters and others, they've made many statements suggesting that if you're not a reformed charismatic, you're not saved.
Yeah.
They don't agree with the reformed charismatics, but at least they consider them brothers.
Right.
So anyway, that's why I put those compilation videos together to show people this is what these guys are saying. You may not be aware of some of the rhetoric coming from these guys, but now you can see one after the other how they characterize charismatics, Pentecostals, and Word of Faith people. So anyway, I wanted to have you tell this story because I wanted people to understand there are a lot of people out there. For every person who comes forward and says, hey, your videos helped me, there are probably 4 or 5 others that got help that never contact me. And you just, in one of the comment sections, you said something about how you got turned around after watching some of my videos and understood where these guys were coming from. And somebody said, hey, you ought to interview him. And so I just said, okay, we'll try this one time and see how it goes. So at this point, you're secure in your Pentecostal charismatic theology?
Yes. I don't really affiliate with any particular denomination, but if I had to, it would be Vineyard. I don't know if anybody watching knows much about him, but that would be the denomination that I consider myself.
Yeah, there are Vineyard churches everywhere. John Wimber started the whole Vineyard movement, I guess, back in the 80s.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this about the Vineyard movement, but it didn't start with John Wimber.
Really?
I don't remember who was the leader of it, but he found them, and then he said, they said, you're our leader. And then it grew from there.
Okay. Well, I learned something new there.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you doing now?
I'm the youth pastor at my church. I've been doing that for a few months now. And we're at the church I attend, we are praying for a big move of God. And I want that to start with the youth.
Amen.
And just to have the opportunity to do that, it's a privilege. It really is. I could talk all day about what I want the ministry to be, and whatnot, but just to be, where it's at and just starting, I'm excited and looking forward for what's to come.
Great. Now, where do you see yourself 5 or 10 years down the road?
I could probably in leadership, senior pastor, just some form of leadership. After I got saved, or before I got saved, I'm sorry, there was a period where I was just not, I was a lukewarm Christian. I'll just put it that way. And before then there was a pastor told me, and he said, you're called by God. And I had that in the back of my head for the longest time, but the closer I got with the pandemic and everything that was going on, that was in the back of my mind. Every time I would try to plan for something that I wanted to do with a career, there would be a little thing, a voice in my head that would say, well, what about your calling?
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, said, yeah, I know, but I just shoved it off. But yeah, and I could see myself in senior leadership of some kind of a church.
Do you have plans to go to a Bible school or a seminary?
Yeah, there's one that I've looked at that I know I want to go to, but right now just the timing, it's not very good. It's Global Awakening Theological Seminary. I don't know if I want to get a bachelor or master's. I'm not sure which. I've looked into it a little bit, have an idea, but just the timing, it's not there yet.
So are they continuationist?
Oh yeah, Dr. Randy Clark. He's the one. He's over Global Awakening. That's his ministry.
I did not know that. I didn't make the association with Randy Clark. Yeah, you're in good hands there, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything that he does, it's phenomenal. And if I could handpick any university or seminary that I would go to for Bible training, that would be it, because it's phenomenal. I've been to conferences. I'm going to another one in October, actually, and I love it. The atmosphere of the conferences and the presence that's there, of God, and I love it. Everything.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we'll be in prayer and agreement with you for all the needs, because you need money to go to school, and it's going to be a few years before you're ready to launch out and into any kind of a senior pastor role or anything. But just be faithful along the way, and God will open the doors and give you the giftings and anointings that you need to do what He's called you to do. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today and share your story with us, and hopefully other people will benefit from this as well. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Rod and Staff podcast. God bless.